Welcome to your 30-30. Continuing with your warm-up this morning. Hopefully you've had a few moments to be on your bike already. Turning the pedals over nice and easy, in and around that 80 to 100 watts, cadence up 90 to 100, just warming up, getting some oxygen through our body, bringing some blood and nutrients to our muscles, some energy to get ready for our workout for today. So we'll carry on here for another 4.5 minutes with our warm-up. Today's set, we're focusing on cadence with some load. So we'll touch into a few little cadence drills here in the first 5 minutes and then get right into our main set. So another minute here, nice and easy, catching our breath. Little shake out of the elbows, little rolling back of the shoulders. Let's make sure we're nice and relaxed in our upper body, nice and open through the chest so you can breathe. Thinking about your pedal circles. It's a lot to think about today. Couple of deep breaths. And let's start moving up some cadences here. So if you're in and around your 90 to 95 RPM, let's move up to about 100 here. So check in with that. You're still from this really easy gear. We don't want the load on the legs yet. And bring it up through 105. We're just spending a few seconds at each of these levels. Then we'll put a little bit of load on, go through it again, and then get into our first set. Up through 110. Remembering to breathe, especially if you did just jump on the bike. Dial back the gear if it's starting to get too high. We don't want to exceed about a 5 out of 10 here. So nice and light. And moving up through 115 RPM. So we're exceeding that general cadence efficiency range for most of us. Got fast legs here. Still breathing. And bring it up to 120. Just a few seconds here. And bringing it up just a little bit more. Whatever you've got left in leg speed, 120 plus. And back to 120. And moving down through 115. Gradually slowing back down. Still at that light gear. So moderate that gear if your power has crept up. And back through 110. And we're heading to 100. So slowing the legs down through 105, through to 100. And back to 90. If you have any extra gear on right now, bring it back. We want to be back to that 80 to 100 watts. 1 minute easy here. I'll explain the workout and we'll get right into it. So bringing back the watts. So the first set, we will be beginning at your 60% watts. That's 60% of your maximum aerobic power if you've done that test, or about a 6 out of 10. And we'll be at 80 RPM. So you can still talk Not necessarily in full sentences, but you know, you can say a few words here and there. So let's slow the leg speed to 80 now. So 80 RPM. Bring that leg speed down. And as you do that, start bringing up the gear. We'll be at your 60% in 3, 2, 1. We are on. So we're 2 minutes here to settle in at our 60% watts, 80 RPM. This 80 RPM would be the equivalent of a low-grade hill, something in the, probably in the 2 to 5% grade range, something where you can still turn the pedals over quite easily, get a little bit of leg speed here, nothing too steep yet. So settling in, check your numbers, should be right at that 60% watts or that 6 out of 10, 80 RPM. Just over a minute more to go here. And following this is how the rest of the set is going to work. At the top of the next minute, we'll increase our cadence to 90, letting the watts go up with it. So if your bike is a smart trainer, you may need to actually move your watts up a little bit. I'd like you to do that, at least moving up to about your 70%. For those of you whose watts will follow, let the watts go. So we'll use our leg speed, get up to 90 RPM, let the watts go with it, hold there for a minute, and then we'll stay at the 90 RPM and back the gear to our 60% and continue on there for a minute. And we're gonna work our way right up to 110 RPM for our cadence work. So using leg speed, let's get up to 90 RPM. In 3, 2, 1. Bring it up. Let the gear go with it. Between 80 and 90 RPM, that should add somewhere between 10 and 15% watts, or maybe even just 10 to 15 watts, depending on how big your maximum aerobic power number is and where you started at. So we're somewhere over our 60% at 90 RPM. 30 more seconds here. Then we'll stay right here at 90 RPM and back the gear to our 60%. Just nice and steady on the pedals. And 3, 2, 1. Settle the gear back to your 60%, still at 90 RPM. Another minute here, and then we're going up to 100 RPM. You're seeing how this works now. Always settling back to 60%. Grab a drink anytime. It's actually good practice to drink while you're putting a little bit of effort out. Nice and steady. 20 more seconds here. Then we lift our cadence to 100. Again, letting the power go with it for a minute. So 5 seconds. And 3, 2, 1. Leg speed up to 100. Bring it up. This will feel like a more significant jump than 80 to 90. You may be tapping in around 75 to 80% of your watts. Check in with that. See where that gets you. Holding steady here. 30 more seconds. Then we stay at 100 RPM And bring the gear back to our 60%. Ten seconds. And settle the watts back to your 60%, staying at 100 RPM. So taking a little bit of gear off, but not overshooting. We want to land right at 60. Nice work. We're here for a minute. We have one more lift after this. It'll be up to 110 RPM. Definitely above most people's efficiency range, but really good practice. You do hit this when you are out on the road, out on the trail, when you have to do these little bursts and you want to be comfortable, especially with some gear on. 5 seconds, leg speed up to 110. 3, 2, 1. Bring it up. Let the gear go with it. Fast legs. We're here for a minute, followed by a minute easy. This is your last minute up here of this cadence set. Come on. Keep it up. You can be above 110 RPM, it's not below. Keep it going. Check in with those watts. Where did you land? Somewhere around 75 or 80%? Very likely. Almost there. 15 seconds. Come on. Right through. Right through. 3, 2, 1. Back it to easy. That's your warm-up gear. 80 to 100 watts. High leg speed. Quick minute here. Catch your breath. Once you've settled your breathing a bit, try and see if you can take a couple of slower breaths in and out. Settle back down. We're repeating this set one more time, this time launching from your 70% watts. So instead of 60% all the way through, we're going up to 70. So we'll take a minute to transition before we get into that. And I'm riding along with you here. I can feel what you're feeling. And let's find 80 RPM. Bring the gear up to your 70% over the next 30 seconds. So slowing the legs, bringing in some gear. 7 out of 10. Pretty much above that conversational pace. A few quick words is about all you can muster at 70%. So if you can feel that, you're in the right place. Everyone settled in there now? We'll begin again at the top of this set. So we'll stay here, right at the 80%, 70% watts, 80 RPM for 2 minutes, beginning now. So this gives you some time to check your breathing, feel your feet going around the complete pedal circle, settling in. As we do the RPM increases, the watts are going to get challenging, and then we come back to the 70%. That's the name of the game here. Feeling what all these cadences feel like at the same output. Just under a minute and a half more here. Settling in. Grab a drink. So this feels either like a steeper hill or you're just pushing harder. Still at that 80 RPM. It's a nice, fast climbing cadence. Less than a minute to go, about 45 seconds. Then we do our first RPM increase, looking for 90 RPM. Again, letting the power go with it. So your watts will increase for that minute, and then we'll bring the watts back and stay at the new cadence level. And getting ready, about 10 seconds. We're going up to 90 RPM, letting the gear go with it. And 3, 2, 1, leg speed up. Finding 90 RPM. If you do have to adjust your power, bring it up by 10 to 15 watts or so. Otherwise, let it go. Hang on, 90 RPM. In 30 seconds, we stay here, but bring the power back to 70%. Come on, you got this. Pressure on the pedals. 90 RPM is a pretty optimal riding cadence for endurance athletes, for riding around somewhere in that 90 to 100 range. And 10 seconds, we'll bring the gear back. 3, 2, 1, 70% watts, 90 RPM, 1 minute. So getting on top of that gear, settling back here, 70%, 7 out of 10. Still below your hour power, but getting close. Our next lift with leg speed is to 100 RPM. Are you ready? We've got 15 seconds. Come on, you can do this. And 3, 2, 1, leg speed up, 100 RPM. Let the power go with it, or add some watts to your smart trainer. And holding here, another 45 seconds to go. Then we stay at 100 and bring the watts back to your 70%. You know the drill, and it's a good drill. Check in with your body. Make sure we're not turtling in, caving in. We need that open chest. Be able to breathe here. 15 seconds. Then we just take some gear off, back to 70%. And 3, 2, 1, 70% watts. 100 RPM, 1 minute. That little bit of gear off. Hold on to that high cadence. Come on, you can do it. Feel the difference between 80 RPM and 100 at the same wattage. Less than 30 seconds to go. Then we have our final lift to 110 RPM before we have a bit of a break. So let's see if you can hold on to that 110 for the full minute, letting the gear go with it. Coming up in 5 seconds. And 3, 2, 1. Up, up. Come on, let's see what you've got here. 110 RPM. Wherever the watts go, hold on. Don't hold your breath. Keep breathing. Come on. Nice and steady with your upper body. All the power down your legs. We need it all. Come on, hold on. Almost there. 20 seconds to go. Beauty. Come on. Hang on. 10 seconds. And 3, 2, 1. Easy gear. 2 minutes. Bring it right back. But keep that leg speed up. Well over 90. Easy, easy gear. 80 to 100. We'll get some recovery before we get into our final piece, the standing piece. Woohoo! Minute and a half more to go. Settle down. Settle down. Keep the legs turning over 90 RPM. Don't stop. So our standing piece, to finish off our 30 minutes today, we will set our gear at somewhere between your 60 and 70% watts at 90 to 100 RPM. Actually, let's make it 80 RPM. We'll hold there for a minute, and then we'll do a standing pyramid where we stand for 15 seconds, sit for 15, stand for 30, sit for 30, stand for 45, 45 seated, 60 minutes is the top, 60 seconds is the top, and then back down the pyramid, ending at the 15 seconds. It'll go by really quickly, just working on that up and down off the saddle, nice and smooth, trying not to throw our bikes. And let's find that 60% watts, somewhere in the 60 to 70% watt range at 80 RPM. So let's bring that in now. So legs are slowing down, little gear coming in that 6 to 7 out of 10 effort range. Bring in the gear. Got 30 seconds till we stand for 15 seconds. We will not touch the gear at any point after this. It's an up and down. Keep looking up the road as you do this. Try to be really smooth. You can feel that saddle perhaps through your legs. It's ideal you're on top of the pedals. And we'll get ready to stand in 10 seconds. 3, 2, 1. 15 seconds standing. You can try and maintain that 80 RPM, but do what you can here. Five more seconds. And back to seated for 15. Next time is 30 seconds. So you get the feeling here. And up off the saddle, 30 seconds. Driving over the top, pushing down, still remembering to scrape across the bottom. We're getting on top of the gear here, maybe giving our hamstrings a bit of a rest. Very good skill. Stay standing, 5 more seconds. And back to seated. 30 seconds seated. Catch your breath. Return to that 80 RPM. And breathe. Next time is 45 seconds. Coming up in 5, 3, 2, 1, up off the saddle. Standing for 45 seconds. You can do this. Relax those shoulders. Nice bend in the elbows. Light on your wrists. And breathing. Come on. Driving over the top. Looking up the road. Looking at our hill. Looking at what's coming. Ten more seconds. And 3, 2, 1, back to seated, 45 seconds. Back on top of that gear, 80 RPM, somewhere between 60 and 70% watts. Settle back. We're hitting the top of the pyramid. Coming up shortly at 1 minute up, 1 minute seated. Do what you can here. If you have to go up and down a couple times, it's totally fine. Just do your best. Five seconds. And 3, 2, 1, up off the saddle. And don't forget to breathe. You can really hold your breath on these efforts. You really want to keep it smooth. Nice and steady. It's a great tactic in many occasions, particularly endurance climbing, a steep climb, giving yourself a bit of a rest, getting on top when you're just bogging down. Fifteen more seconds here, and we get to sit for the full minute. Well done. And back to seated. 1 minute, get back on top of that gear. 80 RPM, 60 to 70% watts. We're coming back down the pyramid. 45 seconds is next. It will seem short compared to the minute. Just keep that smooth pedal stroke. Keep breathing. Twenty more seconds. And 3, 2, 1, up off the saddle. 45 seconds standing. Nice and strong, driving over the top, really capturing that gear again. Checking in with your body. Activate that core a little bit. Keep yourself stable over the saddle, even when you're standing. 10 seconds. And back to seated, 45 seconds. Almost there. 30 seconds is next. Twenty more seconds to go. And then we're on. Final minute and a half. Super fun. Skills in January. It's definitely the time of year for this. And up off the saddle. 30 seconds. Come on, hold strong. I know you can feel it, but this is great. Getting stronger, standing off the saddle. Definitely it's time on. And back to seated, 30 seconds. Final 15 seconds to come. We're almost there. Top of the hill. Right ahead. And 3, 2, 1, up off the saddle. Final time, 15 seconds. Little acceleration maybe. Come on, bring it up. There you go. 3, 2, 1, back to seated. Back the gear right off. Couple minutes easy. And then easy on your own for another 5 to 10 minutes. Thank you for joining today. That was a great session. Tough one, but you did awesome. We will see you next time.